So how does manifestation actually work? We all have a general idea of the hows and whys. But that's only one perspective. The reason for the single mind perspective is that we already have a path with some evidence and we are looking for more evidence to support what we already know. I think we need to separate from the evidence and just take a breath and dive in fresh. I do not claim that my perspective is the actual science behind how manifestation works or that I found magical scrolls as evidence. In fact, I don't mind being 100% wrong if my perspective paves the way for someone else to get it right. We are taught to think from a limited perspective. Even when someone says, think outside the box, I believe that is still limiting. Why just outside the box? When I look at something, I see the web of things that can relate to the one thing. I don't think only outside the box. I see myself looking at the box in the middle of a labyrinth and the ways to get through it to the center. For now, let's break down what we know about manifestation and not in any specific order. We all have the power to manifest. We need to be grateful for what we have. We must surround ourselves with what we want. We must think in terms of abundance. We must think it in past tense as if it already happened. We must be clear about what we want. Then sit back and wait till it happens. And it does. We all want wealth, no way around it. But we cannot simply manifest it from thin air. Balance is always the key. I first wanted to express my personal view on manifesting wealth while I still have your attention. I believe that manifesting knowledge before wealth is more important. Wanting wealth before knowledge is the same as getting a giant scoop of ice cream in your palm without a cone. You won't know how to eat it all without losing most of it. Let's imagine we are architects tasked with the building of a skyscraper in the middle of nowhere. Obviously, we have to skip the part about acquiring permits. So, the very first thing we need is the space from which we will take to build. I say take because the land must be acquired first. The second thing we need is the blueprints of the design. Then we begin the construction. Lastly, we have the finished product. In my opinion, manifestation works in a similar way. Manifesting works by the fabric of creation existing in the endless space as matter. Lifeless and shapeless. Consciousness is what starts to bring attention to it and begin to mold it into existence. Energy influencing the consciousness experience is what gives the final step and making that manifestation a reality. In my theory, I will refer to a feminine and masculine from the perspective of feminine as having the ability to multiply, and masculine as a reference to conduction. First, there was darkness. The feminine, vast, and infinite. For the sake of my theory, let's imagine that infinite feminine existence before the Big Bang. Then came consciousness. Consciousness was what started to give a direction to the process devised by three separate parts of one whole. Frequency, sound, and vibration in that order. Frequency is the tuning in on what is to become. The sound is what causes the movement that creates the vibration. All is set and ready. We have the feminine, we have the intent, the only thing left is the spark. Energy or light is the masculine that conducts that spark. Then, bang, we have creation. So what happened? How did that all work out? So what is the blueprint then? First is the feminine, matter. I will use the famous AUM as a part of my theory. In many texts it is already referred to as a part of the process of creation. The sound is constructed of more than just the three parts. The parting of the lips. The inhale, which is the A. The pause before an inhale becomes an exhale. Then the sound U toward the end is the closing of the lips, transforming the sound U to the sound of M, thus turning sound to vibration. And because it is a continuous cycle, the pause from exhale before the parting of the lips and an inhale again. And as such, continues the infinite cycle. Then, if consciousness is the whole divided into the cycle of AUM, then the inhale, A, is the frequency. Then the pause between an inhale and exhale that begins the sound, the U. I believe that to be the U, because as manifestations differ from person to person, so does the sound that can be produced. So the actual sound before the final M dictates the vibration at which the M will transmit. We have finally created vibration, as in the form of M that completes the last step before bringing that manifestation to reality. Then, lastly, we have the masculine, human beings. We are all made of energy, and energy is light. Human beings are always referred to as beings of light. We use the word light in many saying. Just imagine that certain person that can walk into the room and lights up the room. Makes you feel happy that they are there. We are all that light. Some of us are just more in tune with it. As human beings, we are all mages of manifestation. We only need to pay attention to our daily routines and you will notice it. Anything and everything around us is a result of manifestation. When we are at home and cook a simple meal, we are the energy or conduit that manifests the ingredients into a meal. In manifestation, you have to understand that nothing appears from thin air. There is always a balance. There is always an exchange of values. So when we think of cooking a meal, first we think of what kind of meal. Let's say it's dinner. When you have a taste for what you want, then you look for the recipe that speaks to your taste buds, the desire. By looking at recipes, we are surrounding ourselves with what we want. How do we get that taste? Based on a previous experience. So we already recall the past as a form of future, the feeling of what you want like it already happened. Whatever recipe you thought of, the ingredients already existed. But consciousness now made the selection. To still apply the trinity of consciousness, the physical taking of each ingredient is the A. The sound is obvious, that is the cracking of eggs. The sound of the oven or stove going on. The mixture. The frying or baking. That is the U. Every sound carries the vibration one step closer to the end result. When it is finally ready, we say M, smells delicious. During the entire process, it was a being of light that moved the consciousness from the matter into something different. The balance and value are what? We made a dinner that can now feed more people. We cooked for other members of our family. We were abundant and shared. In value, we also received gratitude for the sharing of our abundance. We just have to teach ourselves to take that same process and apply it to other things we want manifested. But knowledge is important, as I mentioned earlier. What we want is what we lack. We lack it because we didn't have the knowledge on how to acquire it in the first place. So what happens if we get what we want without the knowledge? We will lose it and have the lack again. Seek knowledge as much as you seek what you want. What you want manifested comes faster when it has value that can be shared with others. If Elon Musk was to sit and ask for wealth to be manifested, he wouldn't ask for money to just appear. He would ask for an insight on a product that can help society, and in return wealth would come as a result but not as the driving force. There must always be a balance in the give and take exchange. Otherwise, what is gotten is already lost, for it must go back to where it came from. As a final note to my theory, how does sacred geometry take part in all this? I believe that sacred geometry is like the architectural blueprints upon which things can be built. It is a part of the consciousness part of the process. They are the shapes that explain the creation process of manifestation. In the black, there's nothing. A thought in the form of light chips away from it. A singular that begins to expand. A dot is a circle, marking the infinity. Then it is two lines that are parallel, the infinity, marking the measurable from any given point on the lines. Then 3, a creation of balance, marked as a triangle. Then the 4, a square, marking the power of thought turning into manifestation. And so on. In the process, sacred geometry is formed, showing the essence of manifestation. Everything in the universe is balance. For every take there is a give, and for every give there is a receive. The initial exchange must offer in value more than what it takes, for what you take will only multiply in value once gotten.